Hello everyone, welcome to another video from Fantasy Football Scout. It's the important one of the week. It's team news. Neale is here. How are you, Neale?
I'm alright, guys. Yeah, not too bad. Lamenting my Gameweek 5 wild card and very shattered, but otherwise happy.
You've been sat through some conferences, right, today, as usual?
I have, 15 today, which is a lot. In fact, there's one going on right now, a very late one. Luckily, it's Norwich's, so no one cares about that. But we'll try and bring you up to speed with that one. And yeah, we've heard from 5 yesterday, and then the rest today. So I think we've got lines on every team.
Excellent, I do indeed. Right, let's start from the top then. So the first game of the week, again, is Arsenal. There's some good news for their opponents, Leicester, and there's some not so good news in the Arsenal camp.
Yeah, Leicester's the big one, I guess, from an FPL perspective. Certainly for Vardy owners, he's fine. He's trained the last few days. He had a knee issue that forced him off last weekend, as everyone knows, but he's okay. They've got a couple of question marks over Ricardo Pereira, who's got muscle tightness, and Perez, who's ill. But other than that, I think it's just the long-term ones like Justin and Fofana. Justin should be back soon, actually, after the international break. But Arsenal are the ones with, I think, the most yellow flags, certainly. We know that Jack is out, obviously, longer term, but in terms of the 75% flags, there's some sort of big FPL names there. Ben White, I suppose, is the biggest in terms of budget defenders. He has been ill. Now, this was a bit strange because we saw him come off in midweek and we thought he was injured because it sort of followed a tackle, a late challenge, and then he sort of limped off gingerly, but apparently that was illness related.
Tummy aches. Tummy aches,
yeah. Those were Arteta's words, I think, today, yeah. Mm-hmm. The confusion saying it kind of adds because Arteta said this morning that he hasn't trained, but I saw him in training yesterday. They had a live session of the training on Twitch, and he was there. And what I think he meant was he hasn't trained today yet. We haven't actually had training yet, so I think that's what he meant because this was a press conference this morning at 10 o'clock. So that's what I'm assuming that is a meaning. But he was there. I mean, even if he wasn't involved, I don't know what the extent of his involvement was yesterday, but he was definitely there on site. Same with Pablo Mari as well, who's also ill. Same with Odegaard as well, who's got an undiagnosed, unspecified injury, I should say. I'm not sure what that problem is. All 3 of those were present. Didn't see Tierney. It was the 4th yellow flagged Arsenal asset. Arteta, there's a cat behind you. Arteta's just dog, is it? I was never good at zoology. Arteta said today that Tierney's improving. I think he's going to assess him again and train today. I'll keep an eye out for gallery photos, but I think, judging by what I've seen of the training ground photos, that he's the biggest doubt, Tierney. And of course, they had Tavares playing last week, and I think he didn't play in midweek, so that might have been a sign that they were keeping him fresh for Leicester on Saturday. So I would be quietly confident on White, given what we've seen him on the grass, and it's an illness, so you would think he'd try and play it.
Because Arteta did say there's a bit of sickness sort of in the camp. Hopefully today everyone's okay. So you don't think the sickness is going to spread to anyone else?
Well, that's always a possibility. I remember from a Champ Man days, when someone had a bug and you could decide whether to play them or to send them home to avoid the spread in the camp. Given that White and Mari are on the training ground, I would think that means it's contained. Whatever illness it was. They're fine, but you never know. Arteta is increasingly playing his cards closer to his chest. We don't get the medical bulletins from Arsenal anymore. I don't know what's happened to those, so it's not quite as clear as it used to be.
No, well, we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully, we might get some news as it's the early game before tomorrow, some leaks or something. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Brentford, Burnley next. Mbomo, he's the big one that everyone's asking about. What's the latest with him?
He's got a good chance of playing, according to Thomas Frank. I watched this morning. We got the highlights from yesterday's presser in bite-sized form, but then I've seen it in full today. So his actual quote, and I'll try and find it from this morning, is that he stopped himself from saying they were available. I don't know if that was a slip of the tongue. He said, "I won't say they're available. They'll be assessed tomorrow." And then he was scrabbling around for what he described as the right wording.
Yeah.
He says there is a good chance they could be available for Saturday. Sometimes with these injuries, 48 hours means a lot. Obviously, this was held yesterday, and they've got more assessment periods today and Saturday, but sounds good. He ended up by saying they've got a good chance of being available. So previously, earlier in the week, they said that they took Mbeumo off before it became a serious issue. It was almost like a precautionary substitution. It was his hamstring. And Pinnock's been affected by this hip problem for a while. So it does sound good. Not clear-cut enough to give them 100% flag removal in FPL, but positive sounding. We should get more updates from Frank tonight, I believe. I think there's an embargo section, not on these two, but on others such as Janelle and Wisser as well. But we think Janelle might be closing in on a return.
There is a good chance they could be available for Saturday. It doesn't really get more vague than that, does it?
Yeah,
but it does. It does.
Yeah, you never should. I mean, it's if you've got a benching headache, if you've got a welcome, like 12 or 13 players who you'd be confident of, of returns this weekend, then maybe you would bench them in that instance because there's always a chance that they might bring them on as a sub or take them off early. But if you're scrabbling around for numbers, I think you just hold them, especially with those fantastic fixtures coming up.
Yep. And Sean Dyche said your favourite thing: a few knocks and bruises, not niggles, but knocks and bruises. But says everyone's okay, right? So nothing huge to report from them.
Yeah, Corney is all right. He came off a cramp last weekend, but and Dyche says they will try and manage his minutes to an extent. They did that in midweek. They give him just quarter of an hour in the cup, but I expect he'll be starting this weekend. I think it's just Stevens who's out, and Hennessy's got a ankle problem. They're both backups. Ben Mee came back in midweek as well.
Yep.
He played 90 minutes in the cup.
Yep. Which is good news for them, given that they're playing Brentford, a good attacking Brentford side.
Yeah.
Yep. Next game, Liverpool-Brighton. Liverpool v My Boys. Naby Keita obviously went off injured after Paul Pogba, but some encouraging signs for him.
Yeah, miraculous recovery, and he's looks like he's going to be fit, which is good news because they've got a lot of problems in midfield. Fabinho's out, or almost certainly out, according to Klopp, hadn't trained as of today. Milner we know is out as well till after the international break. Elliott's a long-term one. Thiago's only just back in training as of yesterday. So I would think bench duty at best if he even makes the squad, and he's been out for quite a long time. So yeah, Kate is the one who's coming back. I guess the big question is who's going to start up top, because all four of them were rested in the EFL Cup in midweek, which helps us absolutely not at all in terms of predicting. Obviously, Mane got his rest last weekend. You would think he comes back in. Salah is undroppable at the moment, you would think. So it's maybe between Firmino and Jota, which is tough because they're both playing well for different reasons. Firmino's back to something approaching his best in terms of off the ball and link up work, and even scoring a hat-trick against Watford. And then Jota goes and scores against United last weekend and sets one up as well. So I've done my predicted lines for that already, but I'll be monitoring Liverpool forums as I go, and I wouldn't be surprised if I end up tweaking a few things for that.
Big game for them in the Champions League next week. Atletico Madrid.
Yeah. They've got the advantage of being quite far ahead in that group, I think. So it's difficult to know what he prioritizes because Brighton beat them last year at Anfield, and certainly couldn't be taking any liberties with your lineup for that. As he did in when they played was it Gameweek 5 when they rested Alexander-Arnold, Robertson, and Matip at the back. I don't think it'll be anything like that, but one or two decisions to make, obviously, particularly up top.
Yep. And how about with Brighton?
Brighton, so we've had Webster coming back. He was on the bench last weekend and got minutes in midweek, as did Bissouma as well. He's been on the bench for a while. He got minutes as a sub. One addition to the injury list, and that's Dan Burn. He's out with a knee problem. They're assessing that still. So he joins Alzate and Welbeck on the treatment table there. I think that's it in terms of injury doubts. There's Taylor Richards is a youngster. He's got a back problem, but senior options, they've got a lot. So Duffy was mentioned by name. I don't suppose he'll be playing him. Owners will be playing him anyway this weekend, given the fixture. But he was mentioned as one of the replacements for Dan Burn. Webster's obviously would be favourite longer term if he was fully fit. If he hadn't had this injury, you'd think Webster would be in. But Potter was still sort of stressing that you'd have to monitor him and how much game time he can be safely handed. Webster. I don't know if he's maybe trying to point us into another benching. So Duffy could still get back into the league side. Thereafter, it's a bit of a worry, I would think. Lamptey wasn't involved in midweek.
Well, I was going to say, interesting.
Yeah,
because I thought he'd definitely start that game. I wonder if he's being lined up for a Premier League start.
I think he might be, because I found an interview. This was before the EFL Cup match, and Potter had said his involvement against Leicester will be with one eye on Liverpool, and he wasn't involved at all. So I assume he's had back-to-back 30-minute sub appearances, I think. So that's decent game time prep. So he might be getting ready for a first start of the season, which would mean either a benching for Veltman or Veltman's another one. Veltman's played left-sided centre half as well, not too convincingly, I think, in the past, but he's another option who could slip into the back three as well. Dunk's probably the only one you'd be absolutely certain it would start at the moment, I think.
I was pretty sure on Duffy keeping his place, but the benching against Man City has made me think maybe Veltman goes in and it's Veltman, Webster and Dunk long term, and Duffy does miss out after all.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought
it was. Yeah, I mean, sort of horses for courses with Duffy, because he hasn't got bags of pace. So maybe with Man City and Liverpool, it would be a tactical bench, and he comes back in for the more agricultural tests against like Burnley and teams like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Livermento's now head and shoulders above all the other budget defenders now as the go-to option, I think.
I've been really encouraged by Lamptey's return. He looks really sharp and lively.
Yeah, he looks good, doesn't he?
Yeah, really, really nice.
Yeah.
City Palace next. You were on Twitter earlier complaining about Pep's press conference. What didn't you like? I think I can guess.
Yeah, absolutely no mention of any injury news whatsoever. No questions asked. There might have been some after the embargoed section was cut off, so we might get some later on tonight. But nothing to report. I mean, there wasn't any injuries that we knew of anyway. Torres is obviously long term. Other than that, we didn't think there was any. Sterling came back from a back injury on Wednesday, whenever it was, and played, I think, the full 90 minutes there. So we weren't aware of any injuries anyway. There was one line on Zinchenko, but he was asked about Zinchenko. He didn't just bring him up unprompted. He was asking about his possible uses in midfield. But he was saying that he's an option at left back for the rest of the season, which he is. We knew that already. He's been back available for a while. He will get minutes at some point. He will come in for Cancelo. Cancelo could come over to right. So that will happen at some point. There's nothing we didn't know. So unfortunately, nothing of note from Pep's press.
His exact words on Zinchenko were, so far, Kyle Walker and João Cancelo have been outstanding, but at the same time, the season is too long and we will need him. I'm happy he's back after his injury. I mean, it sounds to me like Kyle Walker and Cancelo are first choice, and he's going to come in every now and then, which is what everyone knew anyway. Palace, I'll save you the time. Everyone bar Nathan Ferguson is in training. Eze is back, but not ready to start. Anything to add? There you go. I thought
nothing. That's it.
I thought I'd save your lovely voice, Neale, on that one. Chelsea, interesting. Yeah, Chelsea was a very interesting one because we did get a juicy bit of injury news today. That that sounds a bit bad. I don't mean juicy, and I feel a bit bad for saying that now. But you know what I mean. It was something that we weren't expecting from the Chelsea camp.
Yeah, it was all set up. It was a bit of a EastEnders cliffhanger bombshell right at the end of the press conference, because we'd gone through the team news. We thought we were all stitched up and everything was sorted. So we knew that Lukaku and Werner were out and weren't likely to be back for this. We've got a return date for those two now. It's going to be after the November international break. So that's what at Gameweek 12 is that, I think. Is that right? I think it is. So they're not going to be back until then. Pulisic is back in training, but is going to be targeting Gameweek 11 as a comeback. Good news on the four players who missed out on Wednesday. Kante, Christensen, Azpilicueta and Loftus-Cheek, all of them fit, all of them back in training.
Yeah.
So, and that's where we thought it was going to be left at. And then right at the end, Kovacic is out. Dropped this on us right at the end. He said, to be fair to him, he said, I'm sorry, I forgot about this. And it was lucky that somebody asked him, really, because he wouldn't have mentioned it.
That's him to apologise for missing it. Oh, I'm really sorry, Neale. Really sorry, Neale. I forgot to mention Kovacic. Yeah,
he's really great. He's so helpful with the team news. He's open and he didn't try and hide anything, I don't think. So someone was asking about Kovacic's influence. He's been one of their players of the season. I think he started all but one league game so far. So he's been one of the regulars in centre midfield, and he's out until after the international break. He's got a hamstring strain right at the end of training yesterday, one of the last kicks of the session, and he's tweaked something so he's going to be out. So he's added to Lukaku, Werner, and Pulisic is missing.
Big miss for them. Kovacic.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, and he's attracted a bit of FPL interest as well because his assist count is 5 or something like that. It's healthy. And he got quite a few transfers in this week, given that he's 5.3 or something. So he's one of the many.
He's due a rise tonight. Due a price rise tonight.
Was he really? Aye, well, that just shows you how popular he was in terms of transfers in. So he's not going to feature, unfortunately. So if you went early on him, then you've got a non-playing sub for the next 2 weeks.
Got to ask you, Neale. Back 5 for Chelsea. Who are you predicting?
I haven't done this yet.
Please say Reece James.
I don't know. Because obviously Aspilicueta's missed the last 2. One is a rest, and then one because of the shoulder problem. Now, of course, he can play right side and centre half. And you think Chalobah drops out after 2 successive starts. Thiago and Rudiger both rested in midweek. Christensen hasn't started the last 2. He could come in as a right-sided centre half, which would mean Aspilicueta playing on the wing back. Alonso started in midweek, so you think Chilwell comes back in for this. So James, I think I'm right in saying him and Chalobah are the only ones who started 2 matches in the last 7 days. The one good thing, I think, did James play centre half in midweek? I think he did. I may be wrong. And it's Newcastle, so you play a more attacking player.
Think so,
against
Newcastle.
But... So you cling on to the hope that he can string together 3 successive starts. Chilwell did that last week, but then he had been withdrawn early in the Champions League, I think after about 16 minutes. So there are nagging doubts about James. I can see why people want to make the sideways move to Chilwell, because it's not just this week; it's longer term. This is well documented now that James has had a succession of 1-point cameos because I think he's had more sub appearances under Tuchel than the rest of Chelsea's defenders combined in the league. He's always coming on because he helps see games out and playing in midfield as well sometimes. So you're going to get the holes with James, but you're also going to get an increased chance of 1-pointers. So even if he does start this weekend, then I can see why people want to make the move to Chilwell. But I'll have a mooch around the Chelsea forums and the Standard and Football and see what they're thinking as well. Because my predictions are basically an aggregation of what everyone else, in the know fans and journalists are saying, with maybe a bit of me on gut.
Don't tell them that. Don't reveal your secrets.
Because there's a better place than me to discuss Chelsea's ins and outs. So I do assess everything that I can. Off my own gut instinct, you 2 starts in a week. If you're just going off maths and probability of rests, then James could be up for a benching. But it is Newcastle who are there for the taking.
Yeah, it's very stressful owning James because he's so good. You think he should play.
Stressful is the word.
Yeah, and then he doesn't. Very annoying.
Yeah.
Newcastle, you mentioned them. Anything new from Newcastle?
Pretty quiet. Shelby's back from suspension. Dubravka's back as well. He's our first choice keeper. He's been out all season. And it's just Dummett and Anderson who are out injured.
Yep. Nice. Moving over to Watford, Southampton. Yeah, frustrating news for the people that have moved for the cheap budget forward of choice from Southampton. Yeah,
nicely swerved his name because I'm not entirely sure how you pronounce it. Is it Broer?
Broer, yeah.
Broer? Yeah, okay. He's out. We didn't think this was going to be the case. He had an ankle injury, came off last weekend after scoring, had an ice pack on after full time, but then Hasenhüttl said he should be fine. He would have missed Tuesday anyway against Chelsea because he was ineligible. He's a loanee. But Hasenhüttl led us to believe that he would return to training thereafter. He's not. He's red flagged for this weekend. He's not going to play. I think he's their only freshed out. I think Stevens was already known about, Jack Stevens, and Ward-Prowse is back after a ban. So it's who takes the place of Broer. So it's I can see why people think Adam Armstrong is going to start, but I saw a quote last week from Hasenhüttl saying that Broer was picked because Che Adams was ruled out. So whether whether it's Adams and Broer competing for one place and then Redmond and Armstrong, sort of a big man, little man strike duo, if that's what he's thinking is. He's slippery. He's last season it was quite easy to second guess him because we had so many injuries. This season, I think I mentioned last week, you just don't know what he's going to do on a week-to-week basis because as I said, he's used 6 different players in the number 10 role already. after game week 9. I don't think there's any ever-present midfielders or forwards in that team this season. And he changes his left back on a whim as well, so it's very hard to know what he's going to do. But based on that previous quote, and this is why I've got my Adams in predicted lineup over Armstrong, Hasenhüttl had previously said that Broa got his chance because Adams was out. So I'm just following logic there and assuming Adams comes in, especially after his goal. He scored in the EFL Cup in midweek where Armstrong didn't. So
yeah.
We said scales maybe tipping out in favour.
We said last week, didn't we? When you see a manager talking up a player like Armstrong, saying how great he is, and he's going to get his chance, they're out of the team. They're not first choice anymore. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Adams play. How about with Watford? Good result for them. Well, great result for them against Everton. No one gave them a chance. Looking to build on that against Southampton. But yeah, few things going on with their squad.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything new. Well, Dennis is suspended. Not an injury, but he's picked up 5 yellow cards, so he's going to be out. So that is a notable name, I suppose, because he's still a popular budget.
5 yellow cards in like 9 matches when he's been benched for half of them?
He's the new. It was the Bolton forward he used to get booked all the time. Kevin Davies, yeah. He's a new that. I had a look on our database. I thought, oh, maybe he's just been unlucky, but he's committed more fouls than anybody else in the division, and he's played he's played on the wing as well. Like, so it's not like he's always like a battering ram off top. He's some games he started on. He's been on the bench. He managed to pick up 5 bookings and commit the most fouls in the entire division.
I saw he was suspended, and I thought he can't have picked up 5 bookings already. Yeah, very impressive.
Maybe the new Hollebass. Maybe that's a better example because Hollebass was always getting booked for Watford, wasn't he, and missing out. So yeah, he's out. Injury-wise, though, I think it's much more serene picture. Danny Rose is back, but the other ones we already knew about. Firmino still a doubt with I think it's a hip problem, and then Etebo, Kabasele, and Sierralta are the sort of longer ones. They're all still out.
Excellent. Just at the halfway point now, if you are enjoying this video, consider chucking us a like. Very much appreciated. And make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. Trying to do these little plugs halfway through there. Now I'm trying to be like the YouTube stars, but I'm who are much better than me.
What a pro.
But yeah, we do appreciate it. It does help us out quite a lot if you do that. Next is United. I mean, very rare for Solskjaer or any manager to say, well, I'll let you say what it is.
Yeah, he's got a fully fit squad. Pogba's the only absentee. Yeah, he's suspended, obviously. Pogba, 3 matches he's going to be out for, but no injuries. So that means we're assuming Varane and Martial are back, who were the last 2 in the physio room, and that's it. Yeah, fully fit squad.
No excuses.
Yeah,
absolutely. And how about with their opponent Spurs?
Not much to excuse for Nuno either. Just 2 injuries. Both are peripheral players anyway. Sessegnon and Brian Gill or Gill. I should really learn to pronounce these players' names before I come on here.
The Premier League, because when I go on the FPL show, they've got all the players saying their names. It's so good.
Oh, that's handy.
I'm still useless at it, but I have heard a lot of the players say their own names. It's very useful.
I need phonetics really for my team news. But
Jill, surely.
Spanish kid. He's out. Well, he's been assessed, which means he's probably going to be out because I'm still waiting to see the severity of the injury. I think it was a hamstring, some kind of muscular thing in midweek. But otherwise, Nuno said a few knocks and niggles, but nothing serious.
Yep. Always a fun one next. It's your favourite man. It's Bielsa. Quite a few things to report on of men. Obviously, everyone with eyes on whether Rafinha's gonna line up on Sunday.
Yeah, I think this is good news, really. I mean, because we saw the tackle that he sustained last week, and we thought he's going to be on the sidelines for this one. But Bielsa said that he, along with Shackleton and Firpo, are likely to be available against Norwich, so that's good. Ealing, Bamford and Cotter are still out. No return date set for that trio of players. But yeah, Rafinha is obviously the big one and likely to be available, I'd say, as an upgrade on a good chance like we've got with Mbeumo. I think that's more than a 75% flag. So yeah, we're positive on that. Obviously, Rafinha hasn't been out. He's only been sidelined for a week. Same with Shackleton. Firpo's been out for longer, so maybe he won't be rushed back in. But I've got Rafinha and I'm starting him and I'm keeping him for. If Salah wasn't in such a rich vein of form, then Rafinha would be a decent captaincy shout. I think Leeds are struggling a bit attacking wise, but Rafinha is always at the helm of their offensive player, and a lot of stuff goes through him. So fingers crossed that update from Bielsa means he's gonna start.
Surely,
yeah.
Something. Yeah.
That was this morning as well. That was a good thing. Bielsa's usually facing the media on Thursday, and we could do with that extra day a lot of the time. So that was this morning, and Bielsa sounded confident.
Yep, it's quite good news for my players. I've got Vardy, Rafinha, and Mbommo, and all positive sounding updates.
Yeah,
so, I've dodged a couple of bullets there. Well, I had a Gelhardt in my scout squad this week. He's looked really good when I've seen him come on. I obviously haven't played that much, but in line for a start, do you reckon, or do you reckon he sticks? I mean, Tyler Roberts just doesn't seem good enough to me to be starting, but Bielsa seems to like him.
Well, Roberts probably won't start, I think, either. Gelhardt, somebody asked him about Gelhardt actually, because I think fans especially would love to see him in the side. Rodrigo doesn't even convince that much. He's kind of not a number 10 and he's not a striker. Rodrigo is somewhere in between. He looked better last weekend when Gelhardt came on, and then Rodrigo dropped a little bit deeper. But I still think it's a stress for him to start on this. I think especially if Rafinha's back, especially if they go to a new system. They were kind of playing 4-4-2 last week, or a 4-4-1-1, which they reserve for certain formations. This is good. Another good thing about Bielsa, he picks certain formations for whatever the opposition are playing. So if a team's playing a two-man attack, you'll go with this wing-backs, the 3-3-1-3 system. If he's playing a team playing a 3-4-3, you play a 4-4-2. I'll not bore you with the details, but it makes predicting the teams a bit easier because we kind of know what system he's going to play.
Very interesting.
Yeah, he's great, Bielsa. I hope he sticks around for a while. So we think if Norwich do play with a 2, which is what they've been doing, then he'd go with his 3-3-1-3. You're never completely sure, but so I don't think Gelhardt starts. Again, Bielsa was asked about him, and he was saying each situation is dependent on the state of the game. So Leeds were on top in that Wolves game. They were bombarding Wolves, and it was made for someone like him to come on, where he didn't have to do like defensive work. Or Bielsa cited the Arsenal game as another example where they were on the back foot, and he didn't see as much. So I think probably substitute duty beckons, but another promising cameo, and he's certainly the most exciting of that 4.5 forward crop. Obviously, when Bamford comes back, that lessens his chances of game time anymore. But you're always on the hope of another Harry Kane emerging from that 4.5.
Yeah, I've been impressed with what I've seen so far. I mean, the thing with Bamford is we're just not getting any news on him, right? There's just no indication how long he's out for. He could be back next week. He could be out for the rest of the season. I've just got no idea.
That was the other thing, yeah. I mean, last week, Bielsa said he'd missed the next 2, which meant the league and the cup game. So we thought he might be near a return for this one, but he's this morning he said there's no return dates for him or Aylan. So I don't know. We don't know when he's going to be back.
Nope. You mentioned nothing with Norwich, but I don't think
it's just come through. I've just seen it. It was a very late press conference. Yeah, it was 3:15. I'm just having a look. Zimmerman's going to be out for several weeks. Sam Byram's still. Yeah, he is. I think I was saying that back in 2019.
I know.
Yeah. Campbell's still short of match fitness. Sam Byram's still short of match fitness, and Billy Gilmore's back. He was ineligible to face his parent club last weekend. Hasn't been playing anyway. No. He's been sitting this one out. But a good game to miss. If your team's getting beat 7-0 and your manager's looking to make changes, then you hope he's in contention. And Fox said this afternoon, Billy is always in my head. All my players have had a chance to shine this week, so you never know. Could be back for this one.
Yeah, funny that he's not. I mean, he was kind of the marquee signing, even though he was on loan.
Yeah.
I had high hopes for him, but not really delivered so far. Villa West Ham is the last game on Sunday. There's question marks about Emi Martinez, who went off to Argentina for family emergency. There's pictures of him, wasn't there? Was it with a relative, I think, in hospital, and I think the general thought was that he might miss out. But yeah, some good news for Dean Smith and Villa. Yeah,
he's going to be available for selection. Yeah. As you said, there it was a personal matter he went back to Argentina for. I think pretty quiet on the team front for Villa. I think it is just Sanson and Philogene Bides.
Yeah, good luck.
I think that's how you pronounce it. They're both ill, and Trezeguet is a long-term one. Other than that, I don't think there's anything. Smith was asked about Bailey because he's looked very promising, and he says he was blown a bit after the Arsenal game. He only played 45 minutes, but he's had another week, and he's looking increasingly influential for Villa. I think they're really, I think this wing-back system that's been in operation lately was almost as much to do with his absence. You know, he's none of their wingers are really players who shape a team around, but he probably is. When he's fit, he's someone you want in your side every single week. And we've seen cameos a bit like Coney at Burnley. We've seen brief glimpses of him so far, and he looks really good. And came on in the second half of that Arsenal game and helped salvage something out of that match. So I would think if fitness isn't an issue, then he'd be back in the team.
I was going to say, I think a switch in formation might be on the cards for them. Not being, I mean, the capitulation against Wolves and then the performance against Arsenal was so poor. So they need to get him in the side. They need to kind of, almost build the team around him, I think, when he's fit, because he looks to me the difference maker in that side, him and Ings. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. And West Ham. Anything with West Ham? I mean, they've got to be confident going into this game. They've got amazing results. Beat West Ham, beat Man City in the cup. A winner against Spurs as well. They're flying at the moment.
Yeah, back-to-back clean sheets. Absolutely coasting through Europe as well.
Yeah.
I saw Luke put up a tweet in midweek saying who was the next Chilwell and Ford, and that's what we should be concentrating on. And I was thinking of Cresswell, because Cresswell's since Zuma's come in, and Zuma is an upgrade on Dawson. I don't think in anyone's book Zuma is a better defender than Dawson is. And they've just kept, as I say, successive clean sheets. So long as Souček and Rice are fit, that obviously helps as well with the midfield shielding. And he's averaging 5 points a game this season, very quietly, sort of going under the radar a bit. I think obviously he's not going to get many people's teams right now, but and their fixtures are a bit. Yeah, the fixtures are iffy in Italy, so I can see why he's not even a consideration. But
from game week 18 though, Norwich, Southampton, Watford, Palace, Leeds, great run.
Yeah, one or two before that, if you're willing to. I mean, it's sort of 5.5 million. You're not going to bench anybody for that, but so he's probably not in the equation right now. But you're looking further afield, Christmas time, then he's certainly in the equation. Maybe even from game week 16 with Burnley and Arsenal. Yeah, but he's injury wise, West Ham's fine. I think Southampton came back in midweek as well. He's been out for a while with a groin problem. Came on as a sub. Alex Kral's back after COVID. He's in training this week, and Moyes is reporting only the usual knocks and niggles. Bumps and bruises. So nothing serious.
Nothing serious. Right. Final game then, Monday night. Can't say I'm looking forward to this one too much. Wolves v Everton. Yeah, what have we got? I mean, we've had a few people in the chat asking about Marçal, but he is out, I believe.
Yeah, I've not seen that officially from Wolves yet, but I've seen enough from several different journalists to just assume he's out. They're all saying he's going to be missing. The reason why, and I've got a bit of insight into this, why FPL don't flag players red, is that I think they wait until the official confirmation from a club. Right. We haven't had that yet. All we've had so far is the press reports from the press conference. As soon as that press conference becomes available, we can all see it, then it'll probably go red. But so he's out, Body's back, and I think that's it. I don't think I've seen anything new. Mosquera's still out, Johnny's still out, and Pedro Neto as well. So nothing to report really, apart from Marçal.
Nope. And Everton, patched up Everton. Any good news?
Yeah. Not massively great. I'm trying to have a think. They were one of the last ones I've seen. Well, no, Doucouré's out. He's going to be back. Maybe he's a little bit quicker than what we thought. So that's going to be. It sounds like game week 12, just after the national break. Calvert-Lewin, we haven't really got any more information on. He wasn't mentioned today in the broadcast section. Gomez wasn't mentioned either, though we do know he's back in training. Mina's not likely to be back fit for that game, so that's great news for Wolves. I think Godfrey and Keane are bang out of sorts at the moment. And if Mina's going to be missing that game, that's great for Jimenez and Hwang as well. If you own either of those. Delph's back in training, the guy who featured in my wildcard squad for some reason. Because he was the only 4.4 million midfielder at the time.
There was some method in the
he's
madness.
still there. Yeah. Oh well, there's a lot of looking back now. What an absolutely horrible wildcard that is. It's terrible. It's so unlike me. So I've generally got a date in mind and I stick to it. I'm blaming this sort of hysteria around Ronaldo and Lukaku and being a new dad as well, and not having the time to sort of think about
people who
the team
went
as much.
for the freemium up front, as it's now labelled, just got burnt hard, didn't they?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I had it for like 2 weeks, and I was going to sell Ronaldo after, what was it? I can't remember which game, Gameweek 7 or something. Then Lukaku got injured, and it's just been a disaster. So my rank's still all right, but it could have been so much better if I just held it together and then waited for this, this Gameweek 78 time to play, because it's I am playing. I'm fighting fires every single week at the moment. It's a terrible wild card looking back. Someone should write a book about that. Wasting your wild cards.
They should. Yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Anything else we've missed?
I don't think so. Just on Everton, Benitez said Richarlison's not 100% fit, but he probably will. By the sounds of it, he's going to start.
Surely he has to start. They can't play Rondon again. He's been absolutely abysmal. And that's even. Sorry. One game too far for Benitez. Has got this track record of being, bringing out the best of average players. He did it with Rondon at Newcastle, but I think this was 1-2 call of order. I don't think Rondon was expecting to get to the team this soon. Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison being out, and it was just too much too soon. He's been playing in, was it China, I think, for a couple of years. The standard's it'll take a while to readapt the Premier League. He's lost so much bulk. He used to be such a strong, physical forward, and now he's slimmed down but hasn't gained any pace or any new abilities. And
he goal scoring aptitude.
He is not good leading the line for them. I would bet a lot of money on Richarlison coming straight back into that team, surely. Cool, that's all the teams done. I just want to point people towards the members area before we go, and over on Fantasy Football Scouts. If you enjoyed listening to Neale is our main editor and writes some fantastic articles. So you can go over those, read some from him. You've also got the powerful Opta data, customizable stats tables, comparison tools. There's a transfer planner as well. Loads of great stuff over there. So if you're watching this video and you're not a member, go over to Fantasy Scout and check it out. I also want to point people towards my and Scout's first ever Twitter Spaces, which will be happening at 4:30. If you've got no idea what a Twitter Space is, you're just like Neale, who I also don't think knows what a Twitter Space is. I only know what a Twitter Space is very recently, but essentially it's a much more kind of, on YouTube obviously we get the chat and you can type something in, I can read it, but on Spaces you can actually chat and we can have conversations and stuff. So it's myself and GW10, one of our moderators, will be hosting, and you can drop in and ask us questions and we can answer them, and it can be nice and interactive. So if you're interested in that, head over to the Fantasy Football Scout community Twitter page. There's a link to that in the description below, and I'll see you there at 4:30. But Neale, thank you as always for joining me, and we'll be back next week.
Yeah, we will. Friday deadline next week, just to forewarn you, everybody. So it'll be probably another rush job, but we'll be there with all the news.
Yeah, we'll get through. Thanks, and we'll see you soon.